You know that feeling when someone thinks they're smarter than everyone else in the room? That was exactly what I was watching unfold at my dining room table last Thursday night. My name is Natalie and I'm 34 years old, married to a man whose job I can't fully discuss. But let's just say he works for the government in ways that require serious clearance levels. My sister-in-law Linda had been eyeing my purse all evening during our family dinner. She thought she was being slick, but I caught every single glance. The woman has always been jealous of what Mark and I have built together. Our house, our cars, the fact that we can afford nice things without maxing out credit cards or begging family for money like she does. "Girl, you're so lucky," Linda had said earlier, fingering the leather of my Michael Kors bag. "Must be nice having a husband who can actually provide." Her own husband Eric just sat there, embarrassed as usual. They'd been struggling financially for months and everyone knew it. But instead of getting her act together, Linda spent her time plotting and scheming, always looking for an easy way out. I excused myself to use the bathroom, leaving my purse on the kitchen counter. When I came back, Linda was suddenly very interested in helping clear the dishes. Too interested. My stomach dropped when I checked my wallet later that night and realized one of my cards was missing. But here's the thing Linda didn't know, and couldn't have known. The card she stole wasn't mine. The next morning I woke up to 17 missed calls from Linda. When I finally answered, she was practically screaming with excitement. "Natalie, girl, you will not believe what happened. I found $500 on the ground outside the grocery store yesterday." Her voice was so high-pitched it hurt my ears. "Can you believe that? Just lying there on the pavement." I knew she was lying. The grocery store story was clearly her cover for however she planned to explain her sudden spending spree. What she didn't realize was that I already knew exactly what she'd done. "That's interesting, Linda," I said carefully. "What are you planning to do with it?" "Oh, I already spent it. Got my nails done, bought some new clothes. You know how it is when you finally catch a break." But $500 was nothing compared to what was coming. Over the next 2 days, Linda's social media exploded with photos. Designer handbags from Louis Vuitton. Diamond earrings. A Rolex watch that cost more than most people's rent. She was posting everything, tagging locations, showing off like she'd won the lottery. The comments on her posts were telling. Friends asking where all this money came from. Family members expressing concern. But Linda just kept responding with winky faces and comments about finally getting lucky. Mark watched me scroll through her posts that evening, his jaw tightening with each image. "She's using my card," he said quietly. "I know," I replied. "Question is, how long do we let this go on?" "Not much longer," Mark said, and something in his voice made my blood run cold. By day 3, Linda had completely lost her mind. The woman who used to clip coupons and shop at discount stores was suddenly living like a rapper's wife. She'd hit every high-end boutique in the city and the receipts were piling up. I received a call from my cousin Michelle around noon. "Girl, have you seen Linda's Instagram? She's at that fancy jewelry store downtown, buying a tennis bracelet that costs more than my car." I pulled up her story and watched in real time as she flashed a diamond bracelet at the camera. The price tag was clearly visible, $8,000. In the background, I could hear the sales associate asking if she wanted it gift-wrapped. "Just put it in the bag," Linda laughed. "I've got more shopping to do." Mark was in his home office when I showed him the video. He didn't say a word, just picked up his phone and made a call. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his voice was low and serious. Government serious. That afternoon, Linda posted from a car dealership. Not just any dealership, the Mercedes-Benz showroom across town. The video showed her signing paperwork for a brand new C-Class sedan, her hands shaking slightly as she held up the keys. "Sometimes you just have to treat yourself," she captioned the post. "Life is too short not to drive something beautiful." The car cost $42,000. I knew because I called the dealership myself, pretending to be interested in the same model. The salesman told me all about the lovely young woman who'd paid in full with her credit card just hours earlier. When Eric called me that evening, he sounded like a broken man. "Natalie, I don't know what's happening to my wife. She won't tell me where this money is coming from, and she's acting like a completely different person." Linda's behavior reached new levels of ridiculous on Friday. She organized an impromptu family gathering at her apartment, claiming she wanted to celebrate her good fortune with everyone. What she really wanted was an audience for her performance. I arrived to find her apartment transformed. New furniture everywhere. A leather sectional that probably cost $6,000. A dining set that looked like it came straight from a showroom. Electronics still in boxes scattered around the living room. Welcome to my new and improved life, Linda announced as family members filed in, their faces mixture of confusion and concern. My Aunt Patricia pulled me aside in the kitchen. Baby, something ain't right here. Linda's been struggling to pay her light bill for months. Where is all this money coming from? Before I could answer, Linda appeared with a champagne bottle that cost more than most people's weekly groceries. We're celebrating tonight. Everyone grab a glass. She spent the entire evening showing off her purchases like she was hosting a shopping channel. The handbags got passed around, each one worth more than a month's rent. The jewelry sparkled under her new chandelier lights. She even had the car keys on display like a trophy. You know what they say, she laughed, clearly enjoying every minute of attention. When it rains, it pours. Mark sat quietly in the corner, watching everything with an expression I'd never seen before. When people asked him about his work, he gave his usual vague answers about government consulting. Nobody suspected that Linda's shopping spree was about to become a federal case. As we were leaving, Linda hugged me extra tight. Thanks for being happy for me, sis. I know some people in the family are just jealous, but you've always been supportive. The irony was suffocating. Saturday morning brought the grand finale of Linda's spending spree. She'd apparently decided that since she was on a roll, she might as well go all out. The credit card notifications on Mark's phone were coming every few minutes. Tiffany & Co., $3,200. Nordstrom, $5,800. Apple Store, $4,500. Another jewelry store, $7,600. She's trying to max it out, Mark said, showing me the alerts. The limit is $75,000. By afternoon she'd succeeded. The final purchase was at another luxury car dealer. This time for Eric. She bought him a used BMW that cost the remaining balance on the card. Her social media story showed Eric looking absolutely terrified as she handed him the keys. Surprised my baby with his dream car, she posted. Money can't buy happiness, but it sure doesn't hurt. The comments were getting more suspicious. Friends were openly asking where this windfall came from. Some people were expressing concern about how quickly she was spending. But Linda just kept laughing it off, posting more pictures and videos of her purchases. That evening she called me one final time. Natalie, I'm having so much fun. You know what? I think I might quit my job. Why work when life is this good? Linda, I said carefully, are you sure about all this? This seems like a lot of money to spend so quickly. Oh honey, don't you worry about me. I know exactly what I'm doing. Besides, easy come easy go, right? She had no idea how prophetic those words would turn out to be. Mark spent that evening making more phone calls, his voice getting more serious with each conversation. It's done, he told me when he hung up the last call. The wheels are in motion. Sunday evening, Linda invited the whole family over again. She said she had one more surprise to share with everyone. When we arrived at her apartment, she was practically vibrating with excitement. I wanted everyone to see this, she announced once we were all gathered in her living room, surrounded by thousands of dollars worth of new purchases. She reached into her purse and pulled out the credit card, Mark's credit card, holding it up like a trophy. This little piece of plastic has been very, very good to me this week, she said with a laugh that made my skin crawl. But all good things must come to an end. Eric looked confused. Linda, what are you talking about? Baby, remember how I told you I found money? Well, let's just say I found more than money. I found opportunity. She waved the card in the air. But now it's time to destroy the evidence. My heart started pounding. Mark grabbed my hand under the table. Linda walked to her kitchen and returned with a lighter. Ladies and gentlemen, watch this magic disappear. She flicked the lighter and held the flame to the corner of the credit card. The plastic began to melt and curl, releasing a toxic smell that made everyone wrinkle their noses. Linda, what the hell are you doing? Patricia asked. Making sure nobody can prove anything, Linda said, dropping the burning card into an ashtray. Good luck tracing this back to anyone now. She looked directly at me when she said it, a smug smile spreading across her face. After all, if there's no evidence, there's no crime, right? The melted plastic continued to smoke as everyone stared in stunned silence. As the burnt plastic cooled in the ashtray, Linda couldn't contain herself anymore. The secret was eating her alive, and she needed someone to appreciate her cleverness. "You want to know the truth?" she said, pouring herself another glass of champagne. "I didn't find any money. I didn't win any lottery. I'm just smarter than everyone thinks." Eric's face went pale. "Linda, what did you do?" She laughed, spinning around in her new designer dress. "I took an opportunity when I saw one. Thursday night at Natalie's house, I noticed she left her purse unattended. So I helped myself to one little credit card." The room went dead silent. Everyone turned to look at me, waiting for my reaction. "You stole from me?" I asked, trying to sound shocked. "Oh, don't be so dramatic." Linda waved her hand dismissively. "It's not like you can't afford it. Besides, look what I did with it. $64,000 in 3 days. That's got to be some kind of record." Patricia stood up. "Linda, are you out of your mind? You stole from family." "I borrowed from family," Linda corrected. "And now that the card is destroyed, what's anyone going to do about it? Call the police." "With what evidence?" Mark finally spoke up. "Linda, do you realize what you've done?" "I've given myself the life I deserve," she replied. "And I've been smart about it. No evidence, no crime. That's Law 101. Eric looked like he might throw up. "Baby, we need to give everything back. Right now." "Give what back?" Linda laughed. "I earned this. Natalie's got plenty of money. She won't even miss it." She turned to me with that same smug expression. "Will you, sis?" I looked at Mark, who gave me the slightest nod. "Actually," I said quietly, "I think you might have made a mistake." Linda's smug expression faltered for just a moment when she saw the look that passed between Mark and me. "What kind of mistake?" she asked, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. Mark stood up slowly. "Linda, that wasn't Natalie's credit card." The room was so quiet you could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Linda's face went through several emotions: confusion, then denial, then the first flicker of fear. "What do you mean it wasn't hers?" Eric asked. "The card you stole," Mark continued, his voice steady and calm, "was issued to me. For my work." Linda forced another laugh. "So what? You're married." "Same thing." "No," Mark said. "It's not the same thing at all. That card is issued by a federal agency. It's for official government business only. Using it for personal purchases is a federal crime." The color drained from Linda's face. "Federal crime? You're joking." "I wish I was," Mark replied. "That card is connected to classified accounts. Every transaction is monitored by multiple agencies. The moment you used it, you triggered automatic investigations." Patricia gasped. Eric sank into his chair like he'd been punched. But I burned it," Linda stammered. "There's no evidence." Mark pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. "Every transaction is recorded digitally. Burning the physical card doesn't erase the electronic trail. In fact, destroying evidence of a federal crime is another felony charge." Linda's hands started shaking. "You're lying. You're trying to scare me." "I'm trying to help you understand how serious this is," Mark said. "You've committed credit card fraud, identity theft, and destruction of evidence. All federal crimes." The champagne glass slipped from Linda's hand, shattering on her new marble floor. "How serious?" Eric whispered. Mark looked directly at Linda. 20 years in federal prison. Per charge. The next 24 hours were a masterclass in watching someone's world collapse in real time. Linda called me 6 times Monday morning, each call more desperate than the last. "Natalie, you have to talk to Mark. He can make this go away, right? It's just family stuff." "Linda, it's not just family stuff anymore. You committed federal crimes. But I'll pay it back. I'll return everything. Please, you have to help me." I could hear her crying through the phone. The confident, smug woman from 2 days ago had completely disappeared. "The BMW and Mercedes are probably already flagged by the FBI," I explained. "You can't just return them like library books." "The FBI?" Her voice cracked. "You think the FBI is really involved?" Before I could answer, I heard pounding on her door through the phone. Heavy official pounding. "Oh God," Linda whispered. "Someone's at my door." "Linda, listen to me very carefully," I said. Do not resist. Do not run. Cooperate completely. The pounding got louder. I heard a voice shout, FBI, open up. Linda started hyperventilating. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. It's happening, I said. Now go answer that door. The line went dead. Mark came into the kitchen where I was standing with my phone still in my hand. They moved fast, he said quietly. How long have you known? I asked. Since the first transaction. I got an alert the moment she used it. I had to report it immediately. There's no choice with cards like that. The investigation started automatically. I thought about Linda's confident laugh as she burned that credit card, thinking she was destroying all the evidence. She had no idea she'd just made everything infinitely worse for herself. My phone rang. Eric was sobbing when I answered the phone. They took her, he choked out. They came with a whole team. SWAT, FBI agents everywhere. The neighbors are all outside watching. Where are you now? I asked. At the police station. They're letting me call family. His voice was shaking. Natalie, they're saying she might not get bail. Federal crimes, flight risk, something about the amount of money. Through the phone, I could hear other people talking in the background, official voices discussing charges and procedures. They read her all these charges, Eric continued. Credit card fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, destruction of evidence, money laundering because of the car purchases. Natalie, they're talking about decades in prison. Money laundering. I hadn't even thought about that angle, but of course, buying cars with stolen credit cards would qualify. She keeps asking for you, Eric said. She wants you to talk to Mark, see if he can make this go away somehow. I closed my eyes. Eric, Mark can't make this go away. This isn't his case anymore. It's a federal investigation. But he works for the government, right? He must have some influence. It doesn't work that way. If anything, the fact that she stole from a government employee makes it worse. I heard Eric talking to someone else, then he came back on the line. Her lawyer is here. He wants to talk to you and Mark about what kind of sentence she might be looking at. What did he say? Eric was quiet for a long moment. He said if she's convicted on all charges, she could get up to 40 years. 40 years, Natalie. She's only 32. The irony wasn't lost on me. Linda thought she was so smart, burning that credit card like some kind of criminal mastermind. Instead, she just guaranteed herself additional charges. The news spread through our family like wildfire. By Tuesday afternoon, everyone knew about Linda's arrest. The story was somehow both shocking and not surprising at all. We all knew she'd been jealous and struggling, but nobody expected her to do something this stupid. Aunt Patricia called me in tears. I raised that girl better than this. How did she think she could steal from family and get away with it? She thought she was smarter than everyone else, I said. She thought burning the credit card would destroy all the evidence. That girl watched too many movies, Patricia replied. Real life doesn't work that way. The local news picked up the story by Wednesday. Local woman arrested in federal credit card fraud case. They didn't use her name since charges were still pending, but everyone in our neighborhood knew exactly who they were talking about. Eric called me Wednesday evening, sounding like he'd aged 10 years in 3 days. I'm filing for divorce, he said quietly. Eric, you don't have to. Yes, I do. The lawyer said I need to protect myself financially. If I don't divorce her, they could come after our assets to pay restitution. What assets we have left, anyway? He explained that the FBI had seized both cars, all the jewelry, the designer bags, even the new furniture. Everything Linda had bought with the stolen card was evidence now. The apartment looks like it was robbed, Eric said. They took pictures of everything, tagged it all, loaded it into trucks. The neighbors were watching from their windows. I'm sorry this is happening to you, I said, and I meant it. Eric was a good man who got caught up in his wife's schemes. The worst part is she still doesn't think she did anything wrong. She keeps saying you and Mark should drop the charges. I almost laughed. We can't drop federal charges, Eric. It doesn't work that way. That's what I told her, but she won't listen. She's convinced this is all some kind of family feud that can be worked out. Thursday morning, I received the call I'd been expecting. Linda had been released on a supervised bond and she was desperate. Natalie, please, I'm begging you. You have to talk to Mark. He can fix this. Her voice was completely different now, small, scared, Nothing like the confident woman who'd burned that credit card in front of everyone. Linda, there's nothing to fix. You committed multiple federal crimes. But we're family. Families work things out. I'll pay back every penny, I swear. How? I asked. You don't have $64,000. You barely had enough to pay your bills before this. He started crying. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. I'll get a second job, I'll sell everything I own. Please don't let them send me to prison. I'm not sending you anywhere, I said. Your choices sent you there. It was just a mistake. A stupid mistake. I wasn't thinking clearly. You spent 3 days making purchases, bragging on social media, and planning how to destroy evidence. That's not a mistake, Linda. That's a crime spree. She was sobbing now. My lawyer says I should take a plea deal. 5 to 7 years if I plead guilty to all charges. 5 to 7 years was actually a good deal considering what she was facing. Her lawyer had clearly worked some magic. That might be your best option, I said. My best option? She screamed. My best option is for my family to help me. For you and Mark to tell them this was all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? You stole a federal credit card and spent $64,000. Then you burned the evidence in front of witnesses. What part of that is a misunderstanding? The line went quiet except for her crying. I'm 32 years old, she finally whispered. I'll be almost 40 when I get out. My life will be over. Your life isn't over, Linda. But the life you were trying to steal from us is. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom watching Linda accept her plea deal. She'd aged visibly, her hair was thinner, her face drawn, the designer clothes replaced with a simple black dress her mother had bought for court appearances. The judge read through the charges methodically. Credit card fraud, identity theft, destruction of evidence, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Each charge carried its own potential sentence, but the plea agreement consolidated everything into one package. Ms. Richardson, you understand that by accepting this plea, you're admitting to defrauding the United States government out of $64,000? Yes, Your Honor, Linda replied, her voice barely audible. And you understand that this crime carries serious consequences because it involved a federal employee's classified financial accounts? Yes, Your Honor. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in federal prison with the possibility of parole after 4. She would also have to pay full restitution, $64,000 plus interest and court costs. Eric wasn't there. Their divorce had been finalized 2 months earlier. He'd moved back in with his mother and was trying to rebuild his life without the constant stress of Linda's legal troubles. After the sentencing, Linda's mother approached me in the hallway. She wants to talk to you, she said quietly. To apologize. I looked over at Linda, who was standing with her lawyer, looking smaller and more defeated than I'd ever seen her. Tell her I accept her apology, I said. But also tell her this could have all been avoided if she just asked for help instead of stealing from family. As Mark and I walked out of the courthouse, I felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Sadness for what Linda had thrown away, relief that justice had been served. Do you think she learned anything? Mark asked. I thought about the confident woman who'd burned that credit card, laughing about destroying evidence, convinced she was smarter than everyone else. I hope so, I said. But somehow I doubt it. 6 years was a long time to think about a few days of shopping. Maybe by the time she got out, Linda would finally understand that actions have consequences, and family isn't something you steal from, it's something you protect.